After a long break, the 60th episode will feature one of my favorite wineries, Pfitscher, out of Montagna, Alto-Adige. All of the Pfitscher wines carry a fresh Alpine DNA with a perfect ripeness, finesse, and precision. My guest was Daniel Pfitscher, the main face of the estate, whose family started making wines in the middle of the 19th century in the leading white wine region of Italy. He will introduce us to his homeland and terroir, of course, how his team achieves crispiness together with excellent ripeness at the same time in the vineyards and cellar. You can also learn the secret of the 92 years old grandpa who's still an active member of the team. You will also get to hear the red variety of the region with some food pairing tips and, as always, much more. Unfortunately, the sound quality is not the best, but I hope it doesn't get in the way of hearing the essence of the exceptional Pfitscher wine ghosts. So enjoy! Daniel, thanks for taking the time and welcome to the Wine Ghost podcast.
Thank you, Matt. It's glad to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
I really like your style of winemaking because it's kind of crisp and elegant, but still with a very generous mouthfeel and very terroir-driven wines, I think. I'm glad that we can talk a little bit about your family and maybe about your specific terroir in more detail and why and how can you or do you make this kind of wine style that you are so known for, I think, in the sommelier, among sommeliers. So could you please introduce and maybe shortly describe the grape growing area in Südtirol or in South Tyrol, and maybe talk a little bit about your specific vineyards or mesoclimate in more detail?
Alto-Adige, the appellation Alto-Adige is the northern appellation of Italy. We are in the middle of the Dolomites, in the middle of the mountains. So right now, I think it's the leading white wine region of Italy. We only have 5,500 hectares here. So this is just 0.7% of the Italian wine production. So less than 1% of the Italian wines comes from Alto-Adige wine region. 60% of white wines, 40% of red wines. The main grape varieties in this region of the whites are definitely Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Bianco, Chardonnay, and Gewürztraminer. Of the reds instead, the Pinot Noir, Lagrein, which is an indigenous grape of this area. And then another indigenous grape is the Vernatsch grape. It is also called Schiava, which is the most historical grape variety in our region. We, as I told you, we are in the middle of the mountains. So obviously this is the main terroir that we have in this region. So we always say that you have to taste the terroir in the glass. And that's why the producer of Alto-Adige tried to bring the mountains in the glass. So we speak about liveliness, elegance, and very crisp and clean wines. This is the style of Alto-Adige wines. Regarding the region or the landscape, in the north, we are protected by the Italian and Austrian Alps. And in the south, the valley is open to the rest of Italy. So this brings a lot of warm temperatures to this region. And we are most of the times in the summer, Bolzano, which is the main city of our region, is the hottest city of Italy. It's incredible. We have many times in the summer, we have 35 or even 40 degrees, with the big difference comparing us with other regions of Italy, that during the night, we have cool temperatures thanks to the mountains, because the mountains bring a lot of cool air or fresh air. And so we have big difference between day and night. During the harvest period, so mostly in September and October, it happens many times that during the day we have 25 degrees and we can harvest with t-shirt. But in the morning when we go in the vineyard, a lot of times we have maybe only 5 degrees and we have to take a pullover. So this 20 degrees of difference between day and night gives to the grape intensity and a lot of aromas. And that's why we focus on this style of wines.
I also admire these wine fairs, what's coming out of this region, because I think this is such a unique and distinctive character what you have, because you have a lot of ripeness, because you have more than 300 sunny days, right? But still this crisp acidity and sharpness. So it's a lot of
Yes, I
character.
can remember. Yes, I can remember when we tasted together the wines in Lech at the Dillere Wine Fest. It was one of your first things that you said, okay, this is Alto-Adige, ripeness, but also acidity. And this is nice. And this is especially because of this difference between day and night, cool nights and hot days. So we have a lot of ripeness, maturation, but at the same time, freshness. This is important for the region. And we reach this not because we are the best winemakers of the world. We reach this because we have the mountains, and the mountains allow us to produce this style of wines.
And can you talk a little bit about your specific mesoclimate, or maybe even microclimate then later? So because there is 6 or 7 subregions in Südtirol, right? And you operate in 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we have 7 subregions. We operate just in 2, not in 6, but we have vineyards in 6 different places. So we have not all our vineyards surrounding our winery, like in Tuscany. This is very typical in Alto-Adige, that you have a lot of different plots everywhere in the region. So the main appellation is DOC Alto-Adige, where I think 95% of the grapes come from. And then we have many other sub-appellations, where maybe the most important one is the DOC Valle Isarco. Then we have the DOC Val Venosta, we have the DOC Meraner, the DOC Terlaner, the DOC Kalterer, but these are very, very small appellations. Mostly but also the other winemakers use the appellation DOC Alto-Adige. And another important thing is that we have a lot of microzones in our region, because the lowest places where grapes grow are located on 250 meters sea level. And due to the climate change, every winemaker goes up to the mountain. And in Alto-Adige, we have the possibility to produce grapes in higher altitudes. And this is why there are many winemakers having vineyards on 1,000 meters sea level. In our case, our highest one is on 900 meters sea level. But this is very, very important, because, for example, on 250 meters sea level, we can produce a very powerful and very strong style of red wine, for example, Merlot, but also Cabernet Sauvignon. And at the same time, in the same town, on 1,000 meters sea level, we can produce a very crisp, light, cool climate Müller-Thurgau. And where in the world you have so many microzones in a so small area? I think only in Switzerland, and then in the Andes in South America. So the USP of Alto-Adige is definitely are the mountains, but also the many microzones that we have in this area. And this is why we have so many grape varieties. Usually, if we talk about Germany or Italy, they have 1, 2, or if you talk about the most famous appellations of the world, there are 1 or 2 grape varieties. And here we have 6 or 7, because we have these different microzones.
And also because of the mountains, you have a very stony kind of sparse soil, which I would say also a very, a big contributing factor to the style.
This is right. We have lighter soils, sandy soils, and the main type of soil in Alto-Adige is limestone and porphyry. Porphyry is a volcanic stone, and limestone is a dolomitic stone, and these are 2 main soils that we have here in this region. And obviously, porphyry, for example, is perfect for Lagrein. Lagrein needs this soil. Limestone is perfect for grapes like Pinot Noir, Pinot Bianco, Chardonnay. So this is how you said it. Every grape needs the perfect soil, the perfect terroir.
What do you think is the contribution of soil in terms of wine style? So do you think that because of the low humus content and maybe because of this massive rock so underneath the surface, do you also have the more reductive notes, or so to say more minerality in the wines? Or do you think it's directly contributing to the wine taste, or?
I don't think that the reduction, for example, is due to the soil. Maybe a little bit, this could be, but the most interesting thing of the soils is that under the soil we have, as you said, a rocky surface. So the vines have to fight. They have to fight to grow well and to produce high quality grapes. And this is important because the vines, they always need to be a little bit under stress. If they are a little bit under stress, they can reach higher results, like the humans. If we are a little bit under stress, we can reach more. The same is in the vines, and they have to fight to produce grapes. And this is why this rocky surface or this rocky soil that we have in Alto-Adige allows the vine to produce higher qualities. This is maybe the main characteristic of the soils here, yes.
And you are operating in two geographical zones, so two subzones, as you said, right? So which are these two subzones?
We produce DOC Alto-Adige, and then we produce DOC Alto-Adige Valle Isarco. Valle Isarco is a valley, it's the northest valley of Italy. So it is the northern part of Alto-Adige. It is located between Bolzano and Bressanone. And there we have a vineyard on 900 meters sea level where we produce a little bit of Müller-Thurgau, a very clean and fresh style of Müller-Thurgau on 900 meters sea level. And all the rest, we have it in the surrounding area of our winery. And there we produce the appellation DOC Alto-Adige. We are located in Montagna, which is 20 kilometers in the south of Bolzano. So in the southern part of Alto-Adige, which is also the main part of wine production in our region, because most of the grapes, so 2/3 of the grapes, comes from the area surrounding Bolzano, like the famous places like Appiano, Caldaro, Cortaccia, Magre. This is the wine street, the so-called wine street, where most of the Alto-Adige grapes come from.
And Montagna is also in the Bassa Atesina region, or this is the South Tyrolean lowlands, if I know correctly, yes. Right? And this is also the warmest part, right?
Yes, it is the warmest part, but the South Tyrol is definitely the warmest part. This is right, the Bassa Atesina region. But where we live, this is called Montagna. And there, out of 20 hectares, we have 5 hectares in our hometown, which is called Montagna. This is a cool area. It is in the southern part, but it is cool because of the altitude. We are between 500 and 700 meters sea level. And this is home of Italian Pinot Noir. So the most famous Pinot Noirs from Italy comes from our hometown, which has 2 crus. Maybe you know them. One cru is Glen and the other cru is Mazzon. Totally 100 hectares of, maybe the most famous Italian Pinot Noir. But you're right. The southern part is definitely the warmer part of Alto-Adige region. So perfect for grapes like Lagrein, but also Gewürztraminer, Vernatsch. We have also some very small places where we reach high results with Merlot, for example, but also Cabernet Sauvignon. It is not a lot, but we have some part where this grape grows very well and reach a lot of ripeness.
I imagine, as you said, that this terroir is a beautiful playground for a winemaker, right? Because you can experiment with a lot of varieties and a lot of wine styles. So
Yes, this is right. Because I always said my brother is the winemaker in a winery, and he studied in Geisenheim in Germany, and he has a lot of winemaker friends, also from Germany, and he always say to him, "Oh, it would be nice to produce only Riesling, to have such only one grape." to focus all your energy to this grape. But at the same time, the German winemakers say to him, it would be great to have 5 or 6 different grape varieties and not only one, which could be a little boring sometimes. But yes, you're right. This is nice that you can vinificate different grape varieties.
And if you are already talking about your family, because I think that you are the 7th generation in
Yes.
family, right? Because your family started in the middle of the 19th century, and currently it's 3rd generations, so to say, in the actively in the winemaking or in the vineyards, right?
We have a long history in winemaking, history dating back to 1861. So more than 160 years of passion for wine. My brother and me, we are the 7th generation of winemakers in our family. And right now we are working together with our parents and our grandfather. So you're right. 3 generations of winemakers are producing wine today in the Pfitscher family. So my brother Hannes is the winemaker. My sister Marion is, well, let's call it head of communication and marketing. My mother of administration, and my father Klaus is together with Hannes the winemaker of our family. My father produced wine for 40 years, and now he's happy that a young guy like my brother is helping him to produce the wine. And my grandfather, sorry, is now he's 92 years old, and he is not anymore every day in the vineyards, but maybe every 2nd or every 3rd day of the week he is in the vineyard. So he drinks since 92 years a glass of wine per day, and it seems that it helps. So this is the family, and we built a new winery in 2011 in the middle of the vineyards, and there we are able to produce in a more easier way wine, because before we have been in the center of the hometown Montagna, where we had a very small and very difficult winery, and now this is definitely much better. And then we have 3 employees. They are very, very, very important for us, and all the rest we do it with the seasonal workers. So in busy times like harvest, we are more or less 30 people in our winery, but the main focus is the family and the 3 friends of us who works and who produce wine together with the family.
Nice. How many hectares do you have currently?
Yes, we have 20 hectares. This is an annual production of 150,000 bottles of wine, and 55% of white wines, 45% of red wines. The main grape varieties are the Sauvignon Blanc of the whites, but then especially the Pinot Noir, because as I told you before, we are here in the middle of a very famous producing area for Pinot Noir. And then we have other 5 grape varieties. Of the whites, we have Pinot Bianco, Chardonnay, and Gewürztraminer, and Müller-Thurgau. So together with Sauvignon Blanc, these are 5 white grape varieties. And of the reds, we have Lagrein, a little bit of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, but just 2,000 bottles. And then mainly Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir is 40% of our production. We so we have, I would say we have the classic grape varieties of Alto-Adige region. Obviously, we have to focus on Pinot Noir because we are in a Pinot Noir area, and we have a focus on Sauvignon Blanc because we have a vineyard of 4 hectares in the town Fier-Allo-Scigliar, which is next to Bolzano on 900 meters sea level. And this is the vineyard where the Sauvignon Blanc Riserva Matthias come from, that you know very well. And this is definitely one of the top crus of Alto-Adige for the grape variety Sauvignon Blanc. So we have 2 very famous crus, which is Montagna for Pinot Noir and Fier-Allo-Scigliar for Sauvignon Blanc. And as a consequence, these are the 2 main grape varieties for our winery.
Are they also the flagship wines of your winery? Would you say these are the wines that you are most proud of, maybe?
Yes, these are definitely the flagship wines. So the Sauvignon Blanc Riserva Matthias of the whites and the Pinot Nero Riserva Matan of the reds.
Okay, that matches also with my taste, so to say, because I also said to you at the tasting, this is one of my favorite Pinot Noirs. So you know this variety probably better than me, but you can have a beautiful Pinot Noir with a lot of complexity and freshness and elegance, but you can also have a Pinot Noir with rather dull flavors and without any grape variety characteristics. So it's the range is very wide, I would say, or very broad, but it's a very character form, I would say. And also, can you talk a little bit about your usual élevage? So how do you approach winemaking in the cellar?
We have 2 lines of wine. We have the vintage wines, which is called the traditional line. There we have wines that makes an aging of maximum 1 year, and they are released within 1 year after harvest. And then we have the single vineyards line, where every wine has the denomination Riserva. Denomination Riserva means a minimum aging of 2 years, and every wine comes from a single vineyard. So this is the clear distinction of these 2 lines. And regarding the vinification of the 2 lines, most of the white wine makes a vinification in steel barrel, and all the red wines make a vinification in oak. We have barrique barrel, tonneau barrel, and large oak barrel. And the wines of the Riserva line, they all make spontaneous fermentation. All the red wines, so traditional line and single vineyards wine, we bottle them without clarification and fining. So you can imagine we try to do as less as possible in the cellar. So we are definitely very minimalistic and puristic in the winery, because if you are a winery that wants to produce or that wants to compete in the very high quality level, you cannot make the difference in the cellar anymore. Maybe 10 or 20 years ago, you had the possibility to do this. But right now in the cellar, everyone has the best winemaker. Everyone has the best technique in the cellar. Right now, the focus of a high quality winery is definitely in the vineyards. If you have certain grape varieties and a certain cru, there you can make the difference and you can be better as another one. And this is why we focus a lot on the vineyard. We work in biological since 8 years now. We are reaching high results. We do this mainly because of quality reasons, because we see that the vineyards are healthier and they can produce very high quality grapes. And then, as I told you before, in the cellar, we try to do as less as possible. We try to give the wine enough time. The traditional line, we try to have very, very classic and very fresh and also aromatic style of typical wines of this region. And in the single vineyard line, thanks to the spontaneous fermentation. Thanks to the longer aging of at least 2 years, we give a lot of complexity to these wines. So this is the style of vinification that we have, the style of wines that we want to reach, where we have comparing us with other wineries in our region. We have definitely the highest vineyards, because you have to know that most of the Alto-Adige vineyards are located between 300 and 500 meters sea level. And in our case, we have most of the vineyards between 500 and 900 meters sea level. So very high. And this is why we stand for very clean, straightforward, and cool climate style of wine. So we try to avoid the high concentration and high alcohol volumes, and look for liveliness, crispiness, and very fresh style of wines. And we reach this thanks to the high altitude vineyard. So this is, to summarize, the style that we want to have in our wines, and the things that we do in the cellar to reach this style. So as less as possible.
Because you already mentioned that you are organic, you're working organically in the vineyard, right? Are you also certified organic, or?
No, we are not certified, because of the 20 hectares, we have 15 hectares of own vineyards and 5 hectares of partners who delivers the grapes to our winery. And not every one of these partners right now is certified, and we need to wait for them to reach as well the certification, because we want to have 100% of the production certified and not only 85% of the production. We have another certification, which is called the Clima House Wine certification. So Casa Clima wine, that regards mainly the production side of the winery. So for example, we have the solar panels. For example, we use light bottles to reduce the CO2 emissions of the wineries. These are 42 criteria regarding the production side of the winery. And we got this certification as the first winery in Italy in 2011. So certification for sustainable wineries. And that's why we are covered in both sides of sustainability. The part in the vineyards and also the production part of the wineries. So the thinking and acting of the family is definitely one of the most sustainable ways. In the production side of the winery, obviously because it's our philosophy. It has ever been our philosophy. In the vineyards, instead, we do this mainly because of quality reasons. Because we talked maybe together also in Lech about this. Today, if you want to produce high quality grapes, you need to work in the most sustainable way. You need to be absolutely professional in the vineyard, and then you can produce high quality wines.
Yeah. And
so I think that in the future, it will definitely be standard of a high quality winery to work in a sustainable way. Maybe it is also now the case. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's also increasingly important, but also not only for the 8th generations, so to say, in your family, but also I think in the consumers' minds, that the next generations of wine consumers also tend to look for more organic wines and more sustainable wines, and more and not only in terms of sustainability, but also in terms of manipulation, so to say, in the cellar. So as you said, that you are working very minimalistically, and I also tend to get more and more questions if the winery can maybe deliver the authentic taste of the terroir, so to say, through a minimalistic winemaking, or they also maybe tend to manipulate their wines more, fining or tannin addition or acidification or things that are still allowed, but maybe not so true maybe to the terroir, so to say, as
Yes.
as one would imagine. So I greatly appreciate this kind of winemaking, what you are doing, because I think it's the more difficult one, I would imagine. If you are doing almost all of your work with a more conscious mind and with a more in a more honest way, maybe, but still reaching great results, because I also know a lot of winery who says that, oh, okay, I'm working organically or even biodynamically and very minimalistically in the cellar, but the results are not really reflecting the kind of brilliance what the winemaker want to achieve. So I think this combination that you work sustainably but also creating world-class results, I think that's maybe the most difficult one to achieve. So really congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, this is a very difficult way, you are right. But this is the nice thing in our sector, in the wine business, that the only thing that counts is the quality. And it's easy to taste wine because you just have to put it in your mouth and to know if you like it or not. It's a difficult sector, but simple and easy at the same time.
And maybe not all of the listeners are so familiar with these two grape varieties, Lagrein and Vernatsch, what you have.
Yes, Vernatsch. We don't have a lot of Vernatsch. We only have a few rows. So we are producing just 1,000 bottles per year. And we sell this just in our shop. So we don't have it on the website and we don't have it in the Lagrein. But I know very well what Vernatsch is and how important it is for the region. In 1975, more or less, nearly 90% of the Alto-Adige wine production was Vernatsch. Then we had the crisis, not only in Alto-Adige, but everywhere in the world. And unfortunately, in Alto-Adige, we produced very light and high quantity Vernatsch and not high quality. And that's why crisis of Vernatsch started in the end of 70. And we had a lot of young winemakers here, the pioneers. Also today they are called the pioneers, like Alois Lageder, Hans Sterzer, Luis Reifer, Paolo Foradori. They decided to produce high quality grapes in the beginning of the 1980s. Unfortunately, since then, the Vernatsch is completely decreasing. So from 80 or 90% of Vernatsch, now we have, I think, 12% of the Alto-Adige production is Vernatsch. 8 or 9% is Lagrein. Lagrein instead is booming. The people like the Lagrein. It is a dark red wine that grows in the hottest places of our region. Comparing with the Vernatsch is a light red wine, easy drinking, a lot of red fruits. I love Vernatsch. I drink Vernatsch the whole summer, even a bit cooler. And the Lagrein instead is more a true red wine, as we all know red wine. So a lot of tannins, a lot of structure, high alcohol, and dark and deep color. So right now, the Lagrein is definitely the red grape variety of Alto-Adige. High request. The Vernatsch instead was the most produced grape variety, but it is decreasing since 40 years. Even if I have to say that right now the young winemakers are maybe, or not the young winemakers, even the young wine drinkers, they prefer the more elegant and light style of red wines. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. And I also, for example, St. Laurent in Austria, it's a very typical grape variety, or also very terroir-driven grape variety, I would say, because it can reflect the terroir as much as a Pinot Noir, I would say, or in my eyes. And I tend to recommend more Saint Laurent also in the summer, of course, because I think it's a very, as you said, it's almost a little bit feminine grape variety. And I also tend to compare it a little bit to Vernatsch in some regards, because I think that both varieties can have a beautiful lightness and a liveliness to it, and a very digestible wine, so to say. And
yes, do you have a Vernatsch in your wine list?
Not yet.
And Lagrein?
Lagrein we have, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but Lagrein is a very popular choice.
Exactly. This is the trend of today. The people drink a lot of Lagrein and Vernatsch, not that much anymore, unfortunately, because I like the grape. It is a nice red wine, a light red wine. You can drink it also with fish if you want, with white meat, with dark meat, with speck that we have a lot in our region, with risotto, pasta. So yeah, we will see how the future will be of this grape variety, of this historic grape of Alto-Adige.
But would you say that with Vernatsch, it's more recommended to use stainless steel tank and avoid oak in the vinification?
Yes. How I like the Vernatsch, I would say yes. You can use also large oak barrels. So a lot of winemakers use the large oak barrel. I would try to avoid the barrique and tonneau barrels, because the Vernatsch lives thanks to this lightness, elegance, and fresh, crisp red fruits. And if you put this in barrique barrel, you're gonna lose this style.
And can you maybe recommend some maybe usual pairings with your favorite wines of the portfolio, or maybe with the two flagship one, maybe with some Italian spice? So to say.
Yes, this is a good question. So let's start with the Sauvignon Blanc Riserva Matthias. This is a wine that has not the classic, this wine. It is not the classic vegetal aroma of Sauvignon Blanc, but it goes more to the direction of tropical and exotic fruits like mango, peach, papaya, maracuya. So a riper style of aroma, and at the same time in the mouth it has a lot of freshness. It's very clean, very straight, with a long and deep finish. And here I would recommend, well, a classic dish from our region, which is maybe a risotto with asparagus.
Okay.
In our region we drink a lot of Sauvignon Blanc, and we have a lot of asparagus as well. So we try to make this pairing many times. But you're a sommelier. What do you know the Sauvignon Blanc Riserva Matthias very well? What could be a perfect pairing with this wine?
I would say I tend to recommend it to chicken with a light creamy sauces, or maybe even with heavier side dishes. So I tend to recommend it to white meat, and also to fishes, but not seafood, but rather sweet water fish, with more neutral vegetables. I would say asparagus, I would say it's a very good match, or could be a very good match, especially now if we have an asparagus season. And I can also recommend it to maybe more like vegetable cuisine. So like also maybe with some Indian or light Indian spice, or maybe with this curry kind of flavor profile. I would say that the wine can bear some light spiciness and a little bit of edge, so to say, in the dish. It's a very versatile food companion, so it's nice. And with the Pinot Noir?
With the Pinot Noir instead, I would say venison. So deer,
Uh-huh.
for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because it's a Pinot Noir. It's not the Pinot Noir Riserva Matan. It's not a light and very easy style of Pinot Noir. It's an important, long aging Pinot Noir with a lot of tension, very long finish, and that's why I would would pair it with venison.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of this also here in our region, so it's a perfect typical pairing.
Uh-huh.
But the Pinot Noir
And
is easy to pair,
yeah.
or easier to pair maybe. What do you say? What do you think?
Yeah, also white game. We also have a lot in the forests here. So as we have deer on the menu, first go to maybe Pinot Noir. What is your maybe the typical dish in your family or in this region? What you have outside of deer maybe, or in this do you have like a mix kind of cuisine, right? So it's German, Italian, I would imagine.
Yeah, we have, for example, the Knödel, so
Okay.
Canederli,
Mm-hmm.
or we have the Schlutzkrapfen. Schlutzkrapfen is a
Mm-hmm.
kind of ravioli.
Mm-hmm.
But we also eat a lot of pizza here and a lot of
Okay.
pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do. And I think that maybe not the Matan, but the classic Pinot Noir that we have, which is a bit fresher, you could pair it with many of these plates.
Mm-hmm. Where do you want to take the success of your winery or of your wines in the future? Or what is maybe some of your goals in 5 or 10 years? What are we going to see in the under the feature labels?
That's a good question. So we want to grow, not in terms of quantity, but only in terms of quality. We want to reach higher results. So obviously, if you are a winemaker, you are never happy with your wines.
Mm-hmm.
So every vintage, you become closer and closer and closer to what you want to reach, but you're never happy and you're never satisfied. To become better and better and better and to reach higher qualities, because we think that we have perfect vineyards for what we want to reach.
Mm-hmm.
High altitude vineyards, which maybe in the past it was a disadvantage to have high altitude vineyards, but now due to the climate change, it is definitely a advantage if you look for a certain style of wines. As I told you before, we look for liveliness in our wines, and that's why we move up in the mountains.
Mm.
So we think that we have the basis to become better and better, and this is what we want to reach in the future.
Beautiful. And although I've never been to the winery, I've looked up some photos about the building online. It's very astonishing. And I think it reflects your wine style also very precisely. So it's a very sleek, modern, but kind of minimalistic. And I think it's a lot of thinking behind it. So I can also recommend to me as well, but also I can recommend to all of the listeners to visit the winery. Do you also have
Yes,
some kind of?
this is good to hear, because we have built this winery 10 years ago in the middle of our vineyards. It is a very clean style of architecture, where we try to bring the nature in the winery. And if you are in the tasting room of our winery, you have a breathtaking view over the valley, over the surrounding mountains. So Mate, you definitely have to come to visit us as soon as possible.
I can't wait. Really can't wait. And maybe the other question, a more practical one, maybe that do you have an open cellar door, so to say? So if someone want to go to the region, can they also taste, or do they have to book in advance, or how are you open?
Yes, we have the classic opening hours, where you can pass by and taste all the wines in our shop. So most of the time, someone of the family will taste with you the wines, and then if you want to have also a guided tour through the cellars, you have to book this, and we have a online tool on our website where you can book a guided tour through the cellars, but you can book also, for example, online tasting with one of the family, or
cool.
a trekking. You can book a trekking in the Pinot Noir trail, because next to our winery we have a Pinot Noir trail, which is a hike of more or less 3 hours through the vineyards of Pinot Noir. And then at the end of this trekking, we have a tasting in the winery. So these are the different types of experiences that we have. Then in the 11th of June, we produce the night of the cellars, so Nacht der Keller, it is called, where every winery of our region makes, let's call it a party, guided tours with a lot of music and a lot of wine. And this would be a good opportunity to visit our winery.
Cool. I also noted that. Super. Daniel, thank you very much. Do you want to add something?
No, I only wanted to say thank you, Mate. It was very nice to meet you in Lech. I would be very pleased to welcome you soon in our winery, but also to welcome everyone who is listening us in our winery, because we are a historic winery. This is right. We produce wines in 7th generation, but at the same time, we are 2 young winemakers producing wine, and we want to do this in the most authentic, honest, and sustainable way as possible. And we cannot wait to show this to many, many wine lovers. So thank you very much, Matt. It was a big pleasure for me being here with you today, and hope to see you soon.
Mine too. Thank you very much. And I can only confirm what you said. So it's a top-notch recommendation from Südtirol. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Ciao.